Okie dokie, here we are then. We're ready to continue with our granny square, and we're going to be moving on and making round 2 as referred to in the pattern, which is this pale pink round here. And we are starting from a position, pretending that I've literally just put my hook down. I know we did all the sewing in, but I'm pretending I've literally just put my hook down from what we're calling round 1. Which means round 1 is currently right side facing, okay, and if you remember, we're going to turn our granny square at the end of every round to prevent it skewing, aren't we? So if I'm looking at the right side of the previous round, I need to turn, so I'm turning and I'm looking for the wobbly. Always look for the wobbly. So I'm starting looking at the wobbly side of the previous round, and I'm joining in my new colour in exactly the same way as we did with the green one. So I'm going to just turn my work so I've got a corner space uppermost, and I'm going to put my hook straight through that corner space. Pick up the yarn in the same way, I've just got that loop of yarn, and pull through. And if you remember, I'm take the cut end of the yarn and put it over the working end, sort of holding that a bit awkwardly because it's a video, but you'll be able to find a way, and then making my 3 starting chain. Now a little note here, which arguably could have been more helpful 2 rounds back, but you know, we are where we are. If you're finding the whole point of these beginning chain is to get your hook to the height of the stitch. So by now you've probably got into a rhythm, you know what your stitches look like, they're probably starting to look a lot more uniform. And if you're finding that the chain that you're making at the beginning of the rounds is a bit too tall, it's a bit bigger than the stitches you're creating, just take a chain out, just make 2. All right, just make 2 instead of 3. And that, you see, is the beauty of crochet. It is very forgiving. There are no crochet police, and I'm going to say this quietly. I am a knitter and I love knitting, but I think crochet is a little bit more relaxed. Okay, it doesn't take itself quite as seriously. So if you don't want to put that extra chain in, just don't. It's great, isn't it? All right, so we're ready to go again in the same way. And I think we might now be familiar enough with it all for me to say to you, we're going to make our corner. All right, and our corner, we know, is made up of 2 granny clusters, and we know that our granny clusters are made up of 3 stitches. All right, so that's our first granny cluster, and we know that between them, to create our next corner, we have to make 3 chain. So we're getting to know the components of the granny square now, aren't we? Our corners are 2 clusters with 3 chain between. All right, and here I am doing my second cluster. Releasing some yarn. Now then, this is where things become interesting, because all of a sudden I have an enormous distance between this corner and this corner. I have to put something in to fill the void. Let me show you what I mean. So on my sample here, we've gone from, on the green here, we've just got our corners. There's nothing between. But on our pink, we've got our corners, but we're filling in with another cluster. Can you see? We're filling in with another cluster. So we've gone from 1 cluster per side in the centre to 2 to 3. All right, so 1 cluster, 2 clusters, and on this round, 1, 2, 3. So that means between our corners we've got a cluster to put in the middle, and that is going to go in. Do you remember we made that lovely little 1 chain to travel us across? That's where we're going to put our next cluster. But we're going to want to make a space for the next round, and also just to travel ourselves across nicely, casually, without everything being a bit pulley and tight, we do that 1 chain again. So nothing new. Nothing new at all. It's just where we end up is a little bit different, isn't it? So we've put our 1 chain after our corner, and we're going in with the next cluster, but the cluster is going in here. So it's in our next open space, and off we go. And that is what is growing the granny. It's making each side longer. All right, but we don't do 2. We just do the 1 on that side, just the 1. because it's not a corner, is it? If it's a side, put 1 in. If it's a corner, you put 2 in. So it's a side. So we're now coming over to our next corner, which means, that's right, we've got to travel to it, so we've got to put a chain in. And now we're back on old familiar territory, which is the corner space again, isn't it? And we know how to do our corners. So let me do a corner. So it's 1 cluster made of 3 stitches. And it's 3 chain to get next corner space. And then it's another cluster. Okay. So let's have a look at what we've created. We've created a 1 full side here and a corner. Well, 2 corners. So our side, look, it's got 1, 2, 3 now. 1, 2, 3 clusters sitting along it. We've made one of the clusters of this side and one of the clusters of this side, but our full side here is 3 clusters. You can see what's happened. We have made our corner, skipped across with our chain. We've filled in this little gap with a new cluster, skipped across with a chain, and made our other corner. Okay, so the only difference is those little sort of standalone clusters that don't make up a corner. So here we are then, we've just made our corner. Where do we need to go now? Yep, we need to make 1 chain to travel and fill in the gap with a cluster. So we've got a nice gap there. Let's make a single cluster. So the mistakes that I made when making these was I put corners everywhere. So I'd make a corner in here. You know, if there was a gap, I made a corner in it, and it's fine. And you'll make those mistakes, and that's totally fine. It's all learning. But if, you know, we're here just to give you a bit of guidance if it's a bit too head scratchy. Okay, so I've filled that little gap in with a cluster. Where am I going now? Yep, 1 chain back to my corner. And I'm going to do that all the way around. There is no surprises. It is corners and clusters. That's all it is. That is all it is. And again, this is why we extol the virtues of the granny, because it is a soothing, calming, mindful, joyful thing to create. And the colour combos are completely endless. If you want a truly scrappy one, Jane taught me a lovely trick a long time ago, because I'm not very good at random. Sorry. I've just finished that corner. Let me just tell you what we're doing. We're not here just for stories, are we? So we've done the corner, 1 chain to hop across, and I'll fill in with the cluster. Yes, she taught me something a long time ago, which is a great thing, because I'm not very good at doing random. So what she said was get all your colours of yarn in a bag and just pull them out. And as they come out, you make your round. And you keep them to one side, and then when you've worked your way all the way through, you put them all back in and start again. It's just brilliant. So if you aren't so good at random either, that's a little tip from someone who's very clever. She knows what she's doing. Okay, so I've made my little cluster here, and our travelling chain, so just 1 chain to travel across, and I'm now going to make my final corner. So clusters and chains. That's all a granny is clusters and chains. Okay, so 3 chain to make the corner space, and then 1 final cluster. Okay, and so we are almost done. Can you see what we have got left to do? We've just got to put 1 last cluster in there. So we've got to do our travel and our last cluster. Okay, and we're going to do 1 last chain to move us all the way across to our last corner, and we can close the round now. So do you remember how we do that? It is with the slip stitch, isn't it, into the 3rd chain. So here's chain number 1, chain number 2, chain number 3. So hook goes through chain number 3, yarn around the hook, and I pull through both loops on the hook. And there we are, our next beautiful round. I just love making them. I wish we were doing a 25 round one so I could carry on showing you for ages. but we're not. We're on the penultimate round here. So fasten off again in the normal way. So I'm cutting my yarn. I'm putting the cut yarn around the hook and pulling, and pulling all the way through. And you can sew your ends in here if you like to. I'll probably go and sew mine in now. We already looked at how to do that, so I won't do that now. Sew the ends in and we're ready to move on to our last round.